Thank you. With me now are Congressman Anthony Brown, Democrat from Maryland, and outgoing Republican Congressman Ryan Costello of Pennsylvania. Thank you both for being here. You had a busy night last night. Congressman Costello, it seems here that the president is stuck between his base and a hard place.
Well, he's stuck having to eat his own words. I mean, he negotiated against himself in the White House, saying that he would own the shutdown. If he had a problem with the clean CR, then he should have told the Senate before they took the bill up, don't take up a clean CR. The Senate passes a clean CR without any objections from the president, and now he wants to upend a Senate tradition that's on the filibuster that's been around for I don't know how many decades. This is chaos. It was totally avoidable. And now we were being asked, and I voted for it, to vote for a $5 billion plus up for the wall and disaster relief, which is funded, in order to get a bill out of the House. He knows what the next step is at the moment.
Are you frustrated at all with your leaders for not standing up to the president, for not just sending him a clean CR?
Well, I would have tested that, but I also think, listen, I was in conference yesterday morning when it was very clear that the votes to pass this were not there. And the thought from Leader McCarthy was, if you put a clean CR up now and it fails, how do you put Humpty Dumpty back together again? And so I think the theory here is that if we vote for the $5 billion and the disaster relief, we send it on its way, the Senate sends it back, strips out the $5 billion, then the House will be in a position where we could vote for a clean CR, because some members will then be able to say, I voted for the wall, it failed, and now I'm voting to keep the government open.
Congressman Brown, is there any indication that Nancy Pelosi may move as they try to negotiate things here in the Senate? I mean, Republicans did prove last night that they do have the votes for the president's border wall. So if they go back to, say, $1.6 billion and that's what comes out of the Senate, do you think Nancy Pelosi would just have to swallow that?
No, first of all, I mean, as Ryan mentioned, and we all know, there was unanimous support in the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, to keep the government open, to avoid a shutdown without border wall funding. It was a last-minute, midnight decision, conversation perhaps between President Trump and Speaker Ryan, and all of a sudden you see the appearance of another border wall, an effort to fund the border wall. There aren't the votes in the Senate. We shouldn't be including that in the effort to keep government open. We can debate and discuss a border wall at a later time. Let's keep government open. Let's continue to serve the American people.
But there's no chance the border wall will ever pass the Democratic House.
No, but I'll tell you, that's right. But the conversation ought to be in the context of broader, comprehensive immigration reform, because one wall doesn't make for an immigration policy. A wall the length that the president is proposing will be breached. More immigrants are in this country illegally who come through our airports and seaports and not across the southwest border. More drugs are smuggled through legitimate ports of entry than over walls. So the border wall, most experts that study migration will tell you it's a waste of money.
Congressman, what's going to happen to the Republican Party if we shut down over Christmas? Mitch McConnell says you don't learn anything from the second kick of the mule. The president says, yes, bring it at me. What are the consequences?
Well, I think the consequences are going to be an indication that we couldn't govern in the waning days of our majority. That's number one. Number two, I think, frankly, it empowers Democrats in the next Congress to come to the table, negotiate some deal, and be able to demonstrate they could do something that we weren't able to do, which is why I think that there really is a political imperative to get the deal done now. And number three, I think that if the president is unwilling to get a deal done right now based on what the Senate previously passed, he will be admitting that he was fine with it until Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and a few other people started hammering him on talk radio, and he doesn't like them hammering him on talk radio, so now he's going to backtrack and force chaos within the House and the Senate. If he's not scared, then I don't know what it is, because if he had a problem with this deal on Monday, he should have said it. He could call up Mitch. He calls up Mitch all the time. He could have said, don't pass the clean CR, put the wall funding in there. But he didn't do that, and he knew that's what they were doing.
Yeah, and Mitch McConnell seemed to think very clearly that they were, in fact, going to go forward, or he wouldn't have said so on Tuesday. While you guys are both here, I'd also like to get you to weigh in on the other huge story today, which is Jim Mattis. And Brown, I know you do a lot of work with veterans at the national security arena. What impact does not just the fact of his stepping down, but how he did it and what he said, what does it mean? Yeah,
certainly this was not a retirement letter. This was a resignation and a statement of no confidence by Secretary Mattis in our commander-in-chief, President Trump. President Trump, his vision for U.S. role around the world is not only out of line with Secretary Mattis's, but out of line with mainstream, both conservative and progressives, who consider national security and foreign policy issues.
How's this going to be viewed by troops in the field? Look,
troops don't wake up every day asking who the Secretary of Defense is, but certainly they are much more informed today than ever before, men and women who serve in uniform. And it does, question the stability of leadership. But rest assured, troops are going to do their job today, tomorrow, and every day, regardless of who the Secretary of Defense is. But I think the more important question going forward is who will succeed Secretary Mattis. We want someone who continues to value alliances, someone who not only recognizes who our friends and foes.
Has all those qualities that Mattis said that he had.
That's right.
But that the president doesn't possess.
The president certainly doesn't possess it. And, when he first came into office, he surrounded himself with people that had principles and values. Most, if not all of them, are gone. So we certainly want to see the return to that office, Secretary of Defense, someone who's stable, who's got principles, who's experienced.
Congressman Costello, is this going to be a major turning point for the Republican Party? I mean, I was struck by Mitch McConnell's statement on this. It seemed to me to be the strongest statement he's ever put out, pushing back against this president. I mean, is this a point where, do Republicans now feel like the wheels are coming off the bus?
Here's why I think it's important. And this is, by the way, I think we can agree, a bigger issue than the shutdown, which we hope we don't have a shutdown. But this is much more broader and I think goes much in terms of America's foreign policy, and are we viewed as a leader, a reliable leader around the globe? And so when whomever he nominates to be the next Secretary of Defense, issues on why this policy, this struck me as very haphazard and very impulsive. And, the fabric of...
You're talking about pulling out of Syria.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of implications
and the potential withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan.
I mean, there's a lot to this that we're only just starting to learn and analyze. And I think the more that we do that, the more concerns there are surrounding it. And so when someone new is nominated, questions about moving forward, should we have left? Under what circumstances should we stay? What's going to be the role of America in Afghanistan? How does all of this impact Israel? What are we going to do in Yemen? I mean, there's just this uncouples that a lot.
And let's be clear, too. I mean, while Secretary Mattis's departure is troubling, what's more troubling is that there doesn't seem to be a disciplined national security decision-making process where the president gets options, he understands the ramifications, and he makes disciplined decisions. That's what's really of concern.
Or they're even consulted.
Yeah.
Or they're even asked.